For many people struggling to overcome mental illness, work is something that can make or break their recovery.
I think that it is much harder for people with mental disorder problems to find and keep employment. And I think it has nothing whatsoever to do with their skills and abilities, and really just about everything to do with us having a society that doesn't like to talk about the things that are unpleasant in life.
I applied for an apprenticeship as a motor mechanic. It was only once I got the job. Why is this the first job you've had for 5 years or something? And of course, I told them. These were adults, really devastated by their reaction. The name calling, playing tricks, you know, stuff that probably happened anyway to anybody. But for me, they had particular significance because it was wrapped up in rejection.
Yet in many cases, mental illness alone means people have to give up their dreams.
I grieved. I was really sad. For such a long time I had thought that I was going to be a teacher, and then when I realised that I couldn't, I was very sad. Once I got past that, I didn't have that pressure on me anymore, and I felt like I could start again, look at the world and figure out where my place was in it.
I'd got increasingly unwell in my private life, but still continued at work. But then there came this crux decision time where I could no longer hold up the pretense at work. I'd just leave, or I'd make up horrible excuses so people didn't ask me questions. I remember telling one employer that I'd had a miscarriage because I knew he wouldn't ask any questions. But to me, that was far easier to say than I tried to kill myself last night.
When you feel abandoned, rejected, slandered, take a look at yourself.
Paul coped by gravitating to a world where it was okay to be crazy, the music business.
I think that was the period of my life in my early 20s where I experienced a life that had no boundaries. It was a life that did not rely on anyone else for the reality that I felt. That was where I felt comfortable, because everybody was really weird. I mean, they were all into their own environments, their own realities, and it was acceptable. I was accepted into that environment because I didn't stand out. And I stayed with that for about 18 years and ended up as a production manager, working with some of the greatest bands that have come out of New Zealand in the last 10 years.
And another place where it's okay to be crazy is Mind and Body, an organisation started by Jim Burdett.
There are employers out there who are prejudiced. Nobody is without prejudice. Mental illness affects people in so many different ways. It's impossible to generalise. I mean, do I look like a typical mad person?
Jim is passionate about mad people working for Mind and Body and considers having experience of mental illness a major qualification for any employee.
When we advertise for people, we advertise that people must have experience of mental illness. The most therapeutic experience I've ever had in terms of helping me deal with my mental illness is working in the area of mental health. Suddenly my experience of mental illness is not just a burden, it's a quality.
Hone Harawira once said to me and to a group of us that mana comes through mahi. You know, the prestige that we earn it through work. And for me, that was a major thing, because at that time I wasn't working, I was on the benefit. I've been on the benefit for close to 3 years, and that's the longest period of time I've been on any benefit. I heard about a job as a peer support worker for West Auckland. I applied for the job, and strangely enough, I got it. I don't know who was hugely surprised, them or me. And that was the start of it. The start of gaining some dignity and some mana and some self-respect, but most of all, that I could do it.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jason speaking, Mind and Body.
One of Mind and Body's innovative approaches to dealing with psychological problems is help from those who have recovered from mental illness.
All peer support workers have a mental illness, and the idea is that because they have a mental illness, they know what it's like, they know what it takes to get better, they know what it takes to stay better, they know what it takes to turn that corner.
A peer support person. For me, it is such a privilege to be invited into somebody else's reality for a short period of their journey. When I was offered the position at Mind and Body, I discovered that my history of mental illness, in all its severity, were actually qualifications for the job. First time in my life.
So, can you guys stand on one leg? Keep closing your eyes, stand on one leg. No. There are some roles within Mind and Body that you don't have to have an experience of mental distress to work there. You don't have to be mad here to work here, but it helps. Now, you evil voices there, you have to try and make them fall over. We all hold QBEs, qualified by experience. That's a conversation I have with people. They go, how come you moved into mental health? What's your qualifications? And I think, oh, yes, well, I hold a quick QBE. And they're like, oh, okay. Thinking, what is a QBE? I went nuts and then I got better.
Or who noticed. It's been great working where I work now at Mind and Body. I know that I can handle whatever it is that would come now. And before I knew that I couldn't handle anything that came. The other thing that's important to my recovery was poetry.
And not just writing poetry, but performing it live.
Mona Lisa portrait. Somebody asked me to MC it, and I went back to my therapist. Someone's asked me if I'll, run poetry live. I couldn't do that. People will look at me. Wind me up that way.
And do it she does. She's transformed into a busy, confident performance poet who's not above sending up Sigmund Freud for a bit of a lark.
Freud is balanced up on the ceiling. He's ranting about his mother.
The Mind and Body team also continue to work at breaking down the stigma of mental illness with projects like the Rethink Madness Theatre Challenge.
We want an audience to come in, see some really, really entertaining shows, but in the end walk out thinking, wow, mental illness is not necessarily a bad thing. People can learn and grow and be better people because of it.
Bipolar buffet looks interesting.
Oh yes, that's our special for tonight, and it comprises of 3 courses. Right. For our entree, we have feelings of grandiosity.
Oh.
For main, you have a choice. You can have either elevated mood swings or a pit of despair accompanied with an inferiority complex.
Oh, elevated mood swings.
Excellent choice, excellent choice. My mental illness was always a very private affair. My family knew I was struggling, knew I was in distress. Having suffered distressing periods of time in my life, I would not wish anyone to go through those times, but I'm really glad I did.
People will sort of wonder what it was about my family that made me go crazy, but it actually wasn't them at all. I think that my relationship with both of my parents is probably part of what helped me probably overcome it.
Because I've gotten through it before, that lends to my sense of faith in myself, that I can do it again, that gives me confidence in my abilities to turn that corner.
These photographs, this was my period in my life where I'd pretty much given up. I look at those and I remember what was going on the inside. That's what I'm getting out of my recovery, that I don't need to go back there. I love this guy because he didn't give up, kept trying.
The biggest support will always be not only my family, but also the things that I believe in and hold true, which is love and truth, honesty, faith, and the Bible.
And I've been to a place where nothing was beautiful. So when I see these little moments of beauty now in someone or in something, it's time to appreciate how far I've come and to celebrate that beauty.
And the white birds way overhead till they are
This program was funded by New Zealand On Air.